Sports Talk along the Beaver Sports Radio Network and on Beaver Nation Online. Thanks for joining us tonight. We are honored to have with us this week's Everyday Champion, brought to you by Target. Target is a company structured entirely of teams, and they understand how crucial each and every team member is. OSU Athletics and Target would like to recognize OSU student athletes not only for their great achievements in their sport, but also in the community and in school. And Target, a proud partner with OSU Athletics, and this week's Target Everyday Champion of the Week from the OSU women's rowing team from New Zealand. Please welcome Jane Ivey to Beaver Sports Talk tonight. Good evening, Jane. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. And how are you?
Well, I like the sound of your voice, and I'd like, we don't get New Zealanders on the show very often. Take us, before we talk a little bit about your career as an athlete here and a little bit about your ambitions in school and your pre-med plan and all of that. Just how does one get from New Zealand? What brought you to Oregon State?
Well, I was rowing in New Zealand, and I'd done about 3 or 4 years there. And I was lucky to get in a really good boat at Nationals. And Oregon State was looking at the results from Nationals, and I did well, luckily. So they contacted my high school coach and asked if there was any graduating seniors, and I was one of them. So the coach got in contact with my high school coach, and he put me in contact with them, and we went from there.
Did you have, growing up, ever an ambition or an idea that when you were ready to go to college that you would do so, leaving your homeland and going somewhere else? Was that ever in your mind or your thinking?
No, I actually knew exactly what college in New Zealand I would go to, and I was pre-enrolled, and I was a week from leaving to go to that college when I signed to come to Oregon State.
Wow, so your life just suddenly changed dramatically. You'd never been to the United States, you were telling me. So take us through the time you signed to come to Oregon State, how much long thereafter, and what your first impressions were getting to Corvallis.
Well, the whole period between them starting to talk to me and me signing was about 2 months. And then I had to spend about 6 months in New Zealand, getting used to the idea of coming here, looking into the idea of America, because I'd never been here. I didn't really know that much about the country apart from what you see on TV, which is the drama TVs and stuff, so that doesn't really give you that much of a good idea.
I'm glad.
And then I got to Corvallis, and I was kind of surprised because it was quite it was a smaller town, and when you think of America, when you come from New Zealand, you kind of think of LA. Mm-hmm. So it was kind of a shock to the system. But it was good because that's kind of the size of the town that I'm from, so it was easy to settle down.
That's good to hear. Were there any major significant cultural adjustments in the early days that you found at all trying, difficult, that took a while to really get?
Some of the words that you use are really different, and so I'd say phrases and people just stare at me. And my accent was a lot stronger then, so people quite often couldn't understand me. And I could always tell when they couldn't because they just nod and smile at me. And that was kind of frustrating. But and also the food. The food's kind of subtly different. So
could you understand them, us? Did you understand us when you first got here?
Yeah. Well, I had no trouble understanding you, so that it was kind of a one-way thing.
Okay. Well, beyond that, getting into school here, tell us, you came here, you were telling me off the air, you came here with intentions to be an engineering major, much to the, skepticism of your family and friends back in New Zealand. Take us through how that evolved early in your life at Oregon State.
I heard that Oregon State was a good engineering school, and so not really knowing what I wanted to do, I decided that engineering was the place to, going to be my drive in life. And I announced that to everyone, and everyone just knew immediately that that was definitely not me, except I was the only one who didn't realize this. And so after sort of 9 months of my first year here, I started to realize that everyone was right. And by the end of my freshman year, I changed to sports science with the pre-med option. And when I told my family, they were all totally not surprised and told me that they should have just chosen my degree for me.
What are your plans now? I mean, as you're in your junior year, you redshirted last year. After your athletic competition as a rower and as athlete, what are your plans? What do you want to do with your career?
Ideally, I would like to continue with the med theme and do the med degree either here or in New Zealand.
And I saw something about physical therapy interests you, and maybe going back home and being a physical therapist.
I guess the physical therapy is like the backup plan.
Oh, okay.
It's always scary to commit to medicine, so if for some reason that it didn't work out, then that's what I would do.
Okay. Well, we wish you very well in any of these ventures, and we appreciate you a long way from home, but I hope you feel it very much at home as a Beaver in Corvallis now.
I do.
And we're glad to hear that. Thanks for joining us tonight, Jane.
Thank you.
Let's hear it for Jane Ivey. Congratulations, this week's Everyday Champion, joining us on Beaver Sports Talk, a member of the OSU women's rowing team, a major in exercise and sports science. Again, our thanks to her for joining us. LaVonda Wagner coming up next as we look to Phil Gill Thursday night with Stanford coming to town. We'll talk to the coach about it next on the Beaver Sports Radio Network.